Medaka Box is, I'll be honest, a bit of a mess of themes, which is just down to the fact the series started as a school comedy, then shifted to a battle shonen, and then shifted further to a parody of a battle shonen. However, that isn't to say that it is lacking in strong thematics, and although this video will be by no means a comprehensive exploration of all of Medaka Box's themes, I'll tackle a few of the larger themes in the series. This video idea was recommended by Birdnest, so I hope this video is alright, and sorry it took so many months to get made, and yes, don't worry, a Kumagawa video is in the works. So for any time during the video you find yourself entertained, then consider liking, subscribing and ringing the bell, as you don't know how much such a small action can do for this channel. Oh, and my new book Gang Fluid Justice is out, so make sure to check it out, link in the description. Also, this video is intended for those who have read the entirety of the Medaka Box manga, as I will be covering many major plot points not present in the anime, so if you're anime only, I'd recommend reading the manga before watching this video. As I said before, Medaka Box has a lot of themes, not like a One Piece level of having a million different themes, but still a lot nonetheless. And the first theme I want to discuss is the idea of nature versus nurture, and although I would argue a series like Dragon Ball explores this theme better and more clearly, Medaka Box still has a lot to say on this particular idea. The main power system of Medaka Box, for most of the manga at least, is abnormalities and minuses. Abnormalities are incredible skills possessed by select people who are called abnormals. Abnormalities allow for a control over a person's own body or characteristics. It is, in a way, the ability to control your natural body and push it to the extreme. Minuses, on the other hand, are negative skills born out of a person's trauma and despair. In general, minuses develop as a result of a person's surroundings, and abnormalities are due to one's natural self and body. I mean, abnormalities affect one's own body and minuses affect the environment, like how your own body is natural and the environment that shapes you is nurture. Minuses often break the laws of physics and logic, as they are not natural, they are a result of the stress of the human mind of nurture rather than nature. In simple terms, it is nature or abnormalities versus nurture or minuses. So in this way, Medaka Box seems to be presenting a very clear nature is right and nurture is wrong, but that is only on the surface level. Minuses are people who have suffered great trauma, they have been hurt by nurture, but in the same way, nurture can save them. Friendship and love, undoubtedly nurture rather than nature, is what saved MUK and helped her to become a better person. Nurture may have been the reason she ended up with such a cursed and horrid power, but nurture was also the reason she was allowed to experience happiness once again. And abnormalities are the same, they aren't always good. Miykonjo isn't abnormal, but his abnormality affects the environment and other people in a way that is honestly closer to a minus. He wasn't always a bad guy though, but this power that he was born with gave him the opportunity to become a king, and he just couldn't resist it. His nature was what allowed him to become a king. It was simply his nature to do such evil things, as he was twisted by his natural power, as neither nature nor nurture are unanimously good or unanimously evil. Both are required to shape you into the person you are today, and through its layered and traumatized characters, Medaka Box makes this clear. As just because you were shown despair doesn't mean you can't still be happy, and just because you were born with great power doesn't mean that power has to twist you. Medaka Box is a story about a story. The meta and parody aspects of the manga, at least to me, don't seem to be for mere comedy and speak volumes for the core themes of the series and the mindsets of its characters. The characters of Medaka Box are defined by their roles in the story, and this isn't just on a narrative level, this is also on a plot level. Kumagawa is the antagonist, Ajium is the final boss, Medaka is the protagonist, and Zenitsu is the sidekick. All these characters on some level think they are filling these roles like characters in a story. They seek comfort in their roles as it gives them some meaning to their lives. It doesn't matter if they win or lose, as they are just filling their roles in the story. A belief Kumagawa uses a lot to protect his own mind from realising how pointless life really is. Characters are part of a story. They are written by the author to have a role to help the story reach its climax. By believing they're just roles in a story, Medaka Box's cast no longer have to view their lives as meaningless or ponder the meaning of life, as whatever they do is just as planned. If nothing matters in the end, if all their actions are leading to the climax of the story, then they don't have to get stressed thinking about the now. However, life isn't a story, it is reality. Medaka may be the protagonist, she may be overpowered, have everyone gravitate around her and always be more right than anyone else, but she isn't happy because of this. You could even argue, and I will, that being the main character, forcing herself to fill this role, has just made Medaka all the more miserable. I mean, the first time we see Medaka be free, be happy, is when Zenitsu becomes the new student council president and for a short time becomes the protagonist of the story. When this happens, Medaka is free of her role and is happier because of it. Medaka adopted the role of a main character as a selfless person in order to make friends, but by doing this, she just drove people away, as they no longer saw her as a person but as a character, as the always right protagonist more akin to a goddess. Ehiko is Medaka's ultimate foil for this reason, as unlike Kumagawa, who is the opposite of Medaka, the antagonist who always loses and is never right, Ehiko is the same as Medaka, a protagonist who is defined by nothing but his character. They are both really strong and both like to fight. Medaka fails to understand people and Ehiko fails to understand Medaka's choices, as though they are both protagonists and heroes, over time what it means to be a hero has changed. It is explained that he is an old hero of legend, a time where what it meant to be a protagonist were quite different. However, Ehiko's biggest flaw is that he refuses to change. His world is gone, replaced by the modern day, but he won't change with it. The only reason he remains in this world is to keep living, nothing more. So that's what he does, he keeps on living, as the hero he once was in a time that has now been long forgotten. He is so defined by his role that he has nothing apart from it, all he can do is play the hero. And for that reason I think it's kind of fitting that he hangs out in Shirahane village, a place rich in ancient customs and a village of actors. But Medaka Box isn't so nihilistic with how it presents finding meaning in one's life. Shirahane thought her role as Medaka's counterpart was just that, a role, but after she is asked to leave the school, she soon realises that her emotions formed while in that role were not just in that role, they were her true feelings. Through adopting a role, Shirahane was able to find fulfillment in her life. Leaving her role behind brought her sadness, but that was only because it wasn't her role she was leaving behind, it was her emotions. Some characters find solace in being defined by a role, by not having to worry about their own place in the universe. Other characters only find happiness when they abandon their role, and some discover their true selves through their roles and grow as people. The idea of being defined by a role can be destructive, but also comforting. However, only by understanding you are playing a role can you better yourself and find your true self. The idea of being defined by a role can be destructive but also comforting. However, only by understanding you are playing a role can you better yourself and find your true self. Overall, I feel Medaka Box is a story about change and development. By the end of the series, everyone, even those who were once antagonists, gather for the 100 Flowers run. That is because they have changed, as the story is about changing and about finding your true self. Some characters end the story accepting their roles, others break free from their lives and live happier because of it as new people. Abnormalities and minuses are a representation of puberty and adolescent growth, as they vanish once you become an adult. As that is what the story is about, a group of teens growing as people and finding meaning in their lives. You can argue that Medaka is at her most happiest at the end of the story without her powers, as she no longer needs them. Her powers were a means for her to develop, and she did. This core theme of development and finding your place in the world echoes through all of the characters, as they all change and all move on to newer things. Overall, Medaka Box is a story that explores a wide range of themes, many more than just those I discussed today. The writing at times can be a bit messy, and some themes do conflict, but even so, to call the series anything but thematically rich would just be plain wrong. The commentary aspect of the series can be on the nose at times, and the series may sometimes think it's a bit more serious than it is, but even so I love this series and hope I have helped you all to understand some of the series' thematic elements at least a tiny bit better. Comment of the week comes from EvanX7, and God I feel bad, yeah Bisky should have been an honourable mention in that video, it just really slipped my mind, so sorry about that. If you have any opinions on Medaka Box thematics or the series as a whole, then tell me in the comment section down below. And if you have a suggestion for a future video, then again the comment section is funny enough down below. Also don't forget to check out my Twitter at SethTheSin for channel updates and just general chatter, and my DMs are always open if you want to chat to me directly. Or check out my Instagram at SethTheSin_cosplay to see my cosplays of random anime merchandise. Also make sure to check out my new book, Gang Fluid Justice, which is just released on Amazon. I at least think it's pretty good. So with all that said and done, I've been Seth the Sin, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I am signing out. Stay safe, everyone.